Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's early recap as of 2:30. We've got a lot going on after the close, so I wanted to make sure I got this out to you prior. Obviously, things change by the close, but this is where we are as of 2:30, which has been a decent rally today. You know, we opened up with a decent gap. A lot of guys came in today, including myself, with a bit of risk off, thinking perhaps, yesterday, Friday's volatility could lead to something, to the downside, and it didn't. So with today's gap up, we've been slowly just crawling higher, and within today's action, you've had some action in the semis. You have the Qs at 2013 highs that showed a lot of relative strength over August. You have the casinos that we talked about in the morning call, all on the move, some at 2013 highs. You have lots of participation, lots of things going on, and lots of individual movement if you're in there looking for that and not just closing your eyes saying, I'm going to short this stuff because of Syria or because of taper talk or because of whatever. But I think if you're part of this community, you're not like that anyway. A lot of guys targeting some really good action out there, and let's just start going through it. You look at the chart of the SPX, you'll see, basically breaking above this descending trend line. We talked about this a few different times over the course of the past few sessions. This is the trend that was intact since November, hovered. This was that 1627 pivot we've talked about, and then we resolved to the upside here. You take a closer look. Few things we talked about, few different obstacles. One, can we get above and stay above the 50-day? That was right there. We are now above it. Can we get above and stay above this trend of lower highs, high, lower high, lower high, lower high here? And there we are. Now at this particular point, I think staying above this now, would be really constructive to start a new trend. Okay, here's your low, and then we'll see if we go like that. But overall, nice action for today, nice participation. You look at the Qs right here, just for educational purposes. This was what? This was your 100-day moving average, right? 100-day, 1637. We went below this in the SPX. This is how you find relative strength. You go to the Qs. Okay, where are the Qs? Oh my goodness, at 2013 highs. How did that happen? How did this be the first group to go up? You know why? Because during the August decline, it held not only above, actually I think it held above the 50-day. Held above the 50-day, let alone the 100-day. So right there, that shows you that the place to be for the first type of bounce would be the Qs, and there you are at this point above the highs. All right, some groups that we needed to have participate, the financials. Financials trying to make their way a little bit higher here. This actually went below the 100-day, so it's taking a little bit more time to come back up. Look where it is versus its highs. So, repairing itself, not a headwind today, helping out a little bit. We talked about Goldman Sachs, this small downtrend here, poking its head above it. So if you got involved or reinitiated here, or we talked about this little pivot, you're getting a little follow through. Bank of America starting to poke its head up. We've been trying to stay with this trade for the majority of this year. Lots of different times to take some extra size. A lot of times to stick with current trends. This trend still remains strong. It did hold higher. I just showed you the XLF going to the 100-day. This held the 50-day. Nice little tight pattern here. This would be, I would say, a focus if you want to be in some bank exposure. There you go. Looking pretty decent right here. Went over the casino stocks last week, talking about leadership coming back, and look at that. Pow! All right, this too reclaimed the moving averages very quickly. This too crossed the descending trend line here, and now look at it. This has been a nice little stock for some of the guys in the community. MGM, been talking about that one all year long. Look at it at, what is that, 2013 highs. Many times we've mentioned putting this in the drawer. Lots of different spots to add, take off. It's been following this 8-day moving average, which is very strong. I think recently we talked about it being a 20-plus stock in 2014. Looks well on its way. Google and Amazon, after their day ones, came back into the mix right around here when it crossed this little pivot line, and now it's extended into the 50-day. It's hard to initiate right here after this move, but looks in the game. Same way with Amazon. It too. This was the breaking of this ascending channel here. Sperling's been on top of this one, looking pretty good. Facebook continues to hang tough. I know today, I got out of mine on the remainder of Friday. Tried to be a little cute today and didn't really work, and it's still hanging out. It's extended from the 8-day, which makes it a little bit tough to add on, but doesn't mean necessarily it's a short. Maybe for a cute little one, which we tried, but not really much there. Apple, trying to hang in there. It'd be really nice to see this one actually close near the highs of the day. We've talked about this pattern many different times. Talked about this lower area. Here was a gap up after earnings, quick move. This is when it took back the 200-day right in here, and this was like micro managing this range here. Okay, first upper flag, didn't have enough time, broke, came below it, reclaimed, and now it's in this upper end of this channel. So the question is, can it break and go? I guess we'll find that out tomorrow. As of right now, you have an open gap here. If it can go sideways a little bit and then cross above today's high tomorrow, or maybe closing the highs today, I think that would be good. If it doesn't, it's still fine, but it would be just a little, what's the word? Frustrating if it all of a sudden closes $2 off the highs here, but we'll see. It's got a lot of time left in the day. You have the invitation event tomorrow at I believe 1 o'clock here, and then you have one in China. So if they come out with something a little bit more than just different colors for their iPhone, I think it'll be bullish. If they come up with a bigger screen, I think that'll be very bullish. If they try and sell the event, they can. It'll be bullish, and well, we'll see what happens. We know the levels, and your commitment, and there have been some trades there. A nice little momentum trade wouldn't hurt, though. It's been very choppy. It's been hard to make money on these big gap ups if you don't take that much risk overnight there. As far as some of the ag plays, they all had a little bit of a bounce this morning. This is like more of a tactical trade, a trade that perhaps if you weren't in the mess of the down move, you were able to try and get a little bit into the gap. It's a little bit off its highs, but it's decent. I'm not going to get into the rest of them. Some people started jumping on these China plays, okay, where it looks like China's bottoming, with some material names. This is just coming up to this area. If you wanted to, get a laggard catch-up trade, this looks pretty well. Big level right here. Worth having some of it. Some people are looking at FCX. It also, patterns getting a little bit better, starting to break. If you look at this downtrend here, pretty big downtrend, okay, that it's now hovering above and looking like it's going to continue. So if you're in a little bit of a portfolio approach and you want to have some exposure to some material names, this looks pretty good with X. Caterpillar is trying to change its complexion. Talked about it earlier on. People in my chat room were saying, what about Caterpillar with China? I said, down here, not so bad, especially if you didn't get caught in this mess. Right now, it's on the highs. It's really got to, I'd say it really has to kind of break this whole area to really change a little bit. But ultimately, if you're in today and you're stay long, it does look like you'll get some continuation tomorrow. XLE we spoke about this morning. Let's see what it's doing. It's trying to break above this 84 level. Still looks good. OAHs, what are you guys doing over here? Look at that. New highs, relative strength during the correction. Look at this. August held the 50-day, didn't get to the 100-day, showing flows getting in there. And then, it triggered above this. Stocks like Schlumberger, which I know it's been in off the charts many a times. Look at that bad boy. Okay, finally waking up and going through this area. Now it's a little bit extended. Tesla has been showing a little bit of weakness for the past, I would say, few sessions here while the market was positive. It had a hard time making new highs. So, at this point it came in. I'm not sure if this is the pivot low here. It is holding above the 8-day the 21-day for now, below the 8-day. It has held the 21-day this entire time, except for this 1 day after the Goldman downgrade, but then you had that nice red dog reversal, and then you had your continuation right here. So I'm not in a rush today to buy versus area. Some guys made some money short. Some bought the bottom end of it. For me, I kind of missed. I've also been in and out of meetings all day long. So at this point, maybe you have a bigger channel here and you have a new point of reference. We'll see how that boils down. Baidu, which got hit a little bit early, regrouped, still building this channel, still looks pretty good. If you're in this versus level, no reason to run for the hills. And really, that's about it. Lots of things going on. Oh, you know what, Jim, good call. A lot of guys were chirping about this in the community, about FIO. Look at this chart. We talk about gaps in these lower levels that are explosive if you're not in them, and very good opportunities. And look at the size of this move. Some people caught that. Congratulations in FIO. There was a lot of volume, and you had your levels, and there you go. Sometimes you don't expect much, and you get pleasantly surprised. BlackBerry. Some people saw me put it on the VTF with some calls last week. It's inching up. Not a blockbuster trade, but we talk about day ones, and right here on this day was my day one, and now it's 4 days later, and the options are doing pretty well. You know, people are like, oh, it's a killer trade. Not really a killer trade. It's just something to do. If something happens, you know, and it gets taken over or something, who knows? We don't play for that, but you know, you have a bigger gap here. So we'll see how that goes. I'm at a half. I'm going to stay in half, and lots of little things to do. You know, everyone's talking about the risks of September. I feel like people have been talking about the risks of September since May. You know, maybe it was priced in August with the Dow down 4%, the S&P down 3%. What we know is a pivot low at 1627. What we also know is decent participation across the board. We've seen rotation among sectors. We've seen leaders flex their muscles. We've seen some breakouts happen. We've seen a lot of little things to do that tactically could make you money without even big bets. So with that said, you know, it's only 245 so far. Decently, you know, a decent strong day. Lots of individual movement. You know, if you're on my VTF, you see that I'm holding, I think, 4 or 5 positions, and you know, I have to leave actually into the close, so you'll see whether they stay on or leave. Unfortunately, if you're watching this on Twitter, you should make the move and go to the virtual trade floor. We've seen a lot of people from Twitter come to the virtual trade floor because they want the dots connected, and I think they're pleasantly surprised when they see that things that we put out on off the charts or in the price point sheet or in our education classes or tweet about early morning, they see come on our floor live, which are real positions for us and make us real P&L. They're not just, you know, just mock trades. They're real trades because we are real traders real time. Sometimes we can post all our positions on Twitter. Sometimes you can't. That's what the virtual trade floor is. Okay, it's a spot to watch us with transparency. You can see a lot of people talking about what's going on. People in the community sometimes come up with better situations than we do, and that's why we say, you know, I would say 400 or 500 eyeballs are better than 2 if you're sitting at home in your basement, or if you're sitting, you know, at a desk in another country or wherever it is. You could be watching what we're doing, you know, online as if you were one of us, and if you're in our community, you are. So with all that said, still not a place to be all in or all out, or I would say rolling up shorts. If you are, you have to have conviction for that. At this point, you know, tape seems more neutral to positive versus neutral to negative, and we were talking about that a little bit into the end of the day Friday, where I was like, you know what, you know, I was short Friday. That they could have held it lower, they couldn't, so that got me back to more neutral positive, and now we'll see how we close. Have a nice Monday. Still got a lot going on. You got the president perhaps tomorrow night, the vote on Wednesday. We have the Apple event. We have, you know, lots of action across the board. So if things are working for you, continue to have them work for you. If you know you're stuck and you have a few opinions because you're watching too many media outlets, you know what? Maybe turn those media outlets off and start watching the price patterns and the charts. Have a great night.